Yeah, it was a lot of positives. Obviously, it got super close, and definitely gonna think about the last point, or I don't even know, second, third, last, whatever, point for a while. But overall, I think it was a positive tournament for me. A match to for sure remember. I think. I mean, it's tough to digest, but like, oh no, I'm happy. Ben.
I just mentioned that point. What are you thinking about that point at this point?
I mean, there's one thing to be like, oh, why play a drop shot? But then I also think about how many points I won off the drop shot. So it's like, yes, people who don't watch tennis are going to be like, why did you do that? But at the end of the day, it's like, that's the choice I made. Was it the right one in that moment? Maybe not. But then also, if I make it, everyone's going to say how clutch of a shot that was. So I think that's just tennis. You lose some points off margins. Honestly, the return came back like in a tricky place for me, and I didn't expect it to. I kind of the bounce caught me off guard, so I just panicked a little bit. But I think it just takes moments like this to learn from and have a more of a clear, concise plan of what I want to do. But at the end of the day, I left it all out there, and my only regret, I think, or I don't have any regrets. I think it's just obviously points I want to make better decisions on, but that's how you learn and become a better player. David?
For just a few seconds, it felt like the entire conversation around Coco Gauff had changed. Fans couldn't believe what they had just seen. Commentators immediately questioned the choice. Social media exploded with one opinion. In the biggest match of her Wimbledon campaign, Coco Gauff made a decision that instantly became the talking point of the night. But here's what most people missed. That single shot wasn't the real story. Because a few minutes later, sitting calmly in the press conference room, Coco finally explained exactly what was going through her mind. And suddenly, that decision looked very different. So, was it really a terrible mistake? Or did everyone judge the moment simply because they already knew the result? Today, we're breaking down the biggest decision of Coco Gauff's Wimbledon run, what actually happened in that crucial moment, and why her own explanation has completely changed how many people are looking at it. Coming into Wimbledon, Coco Gauff wasn't considered the overwhelming favorite. Grass has never been viewed as her strongest surface, and throughout the tournament there were still questions about whether her aggressive baseline game could consistently survive against opponents who naturally thrive on grass. Yet match after match she kept proving people wrong. She fought through difficult moments. She handled pressure. And she reached another major semifinal, showing once again why she's already one of the toughest competitors on the WTA Tour. By this stage of the tournament, every single point carried enormous weight. There were no easy rallies anymore. No second chances. Every decision had consequences. And that's exactly what makes tennis so brutal. Sometimes a match isn't decided by 10 bad points. Sometimes it's decided by just one. One shot. One choice. One moment that people replay over and over again. And for Coco Gauff, that moment arrived at exactly the wrong time. The rally itself didn't seem unusual at first. Both players were exchanging heavy ground strokes, pushing each other deep behind the baseline. Then suddenly Coco saw an opening. Instead of continuing the baseline exchange, she changed the pattern completely. She chose the drop shot. For a split second, it looked like the perfect surprise. But the execution wasn't clean enough. The ball landed shorter than she intended. Her opponent reacted immediately. Within seconds, the point was gone. The stadium erupted. The momentum shifted. And almost instantly, that single decision became the biggest talking point of the entire match. To many viewers, the conclusion seemed obvious. She shouldn't have played that shot. But tennis isn't that simple. Because professional players don't make split-second decisions based on emotion. They make them based on patterns they've been reading throughout the match. And that's exactly where Coco's explanation becomes incredibly interesting. For Coco Gauff, reaching another Wimbledon semifinal was never supposed to be easy. Even before the tournament began, many analysts believed grass was still the biggest question mark in her game. While her athleticism, movement, and defensive skills could trouble anyone, Wimbledon demands something different. The surface rewards quick reactions, low-bouncing shots, and players who are willing to make bold decisions under pressure. Yet throughout the tournament, Coco kept answering every question. Round after round, she showed remarkable composure. Whenever momentum started to shift, she found a way to respond. Instead of forcing winners, she trusted her discipline, extended rallies, and waited for the right opportunities. That consistency is exactly what carried her into another Grand Slam semifinal. But the deeper you go in a major tournament, the smaller the margins become. At this stage, matches are no longer decided by who hits the most spectacular winners. They're decided by who makes the better decisions when everything is on the line. Every point feels heavier. Every rally carries extra pressure. And sometimes, one split-second decision becomes the moment everyone remembers. That's exactly what happened to Coco. During one of the most important rallies of the match, both players were locked in a physical baseline exchange. Neither wanted to give away control. Shot after shot, they pushed each other from corner to corner, waiting for even the smallest opening. Then Coco noticed something. Her opponent had been pulled well behind the baseline, leaving space near the net. In that instant, Coco made a decision that aggressive players make all the time. She tried to change the rhythm with a drop shot instead of continuing another heavy exchange from the back of the court. On paper, the idea made sense. But at Wimbledon, the difference between a brilliant drop shot and a costly mistake can be just a few inches. This time, the execution wasn't perfect. The ball sat up just enough for her opponent to reach it, turning what could have been a winning play into a lost point. Within seconds, the crowd reacted. Television cameras replayed the moment. And across social media, one question started spreading everywhere. Why did Coco even attempt that shot? For many viewers, the answer seemed obvious. They believed she had made the wrong decision. But Coco saw the moment very differently. That question followed Coco Gauff almost immediately after the match. It wasn't just fans debating the moment online. Reporters wanted to know what she was thinking, and whether, looking back, she regretted making that decision. Instead of avoiding the topic, Coco addressed it directly. She didn't blame the conditions. She didn't blame bad luck. And she didn't pretend the shot had worked. Instead, she explained that the decision itself wasn't the problem. The execution was. From her perspective, the opportunity was there. She saw her opponent positioned behind the baseline and believed the drop shot was the right tactical choice at that moment. The idea was to force her opponent to cover a long distance and disrupt the rhythm of the rally. The problem was that the shot simply wasn't good enough. It lacked the precision needed on a grass court, where even the smallest mistake can completely change the outcome of a point. That distinction is important. In professional tennis, players often separate decision-making from execution. A smart decision can still produce a bad result if the shot isn't executed perfectly. Likewise, a risky decision can sometimes look brilliant simply because it works. That's why judging a choice only by its outcome can be misleading. For Coco, there was no point pretending she should never have attempted the shot. Had she executed it the way she intended, the conversation after the match might have been completely different. Instead of criticizing the decision, people could have been praising it as a fearless piece of shot-making under pressure. And that's the reality of elite tennis. At the highest level, matches are often decided by inches, not ideas. Coco's explanation didn't erase the disappointment of losing the point, but it gave everyone a better understanding of what had actually happened in that crucial moment. The debate was never just about a drop shot. It was about the fine line that separates courage from criticism when the stakes are at their highest. What makes this moment even more fascinating is how quickly public opinion can shift in modern tennis. When a player loses an important point, the final result often becomes the only thing people remember. The process behind the decision is forgotten, and every replay makes the mistake appear more obvious than it actually was. But that's not how the world's best players think. Every point is built on information gathered throughout the match. They notice movement patterns, court positioning, previous rallies, and even tiny habits their opponent may not realize they're showing. In just a fraction of a second, they process all of that before deciding which shot gives them the best chance to win. That's exactly why Coco never described the drop shot as a random gamble. From her perspective, it was a calculated decision based on what she had been seeing during the match. She believed the opportunity was there. The execution simply failed at the worst possible time. And that's a reality every Grand Slam champion understands. The difference between a highlight and a headline is often just a few inches. If the ball lands slightly shorter, it's called a brilliant touch. If it sits up just enough for the opponent to reach it, it's suddenly labeled the biggest mistake of the match. That's the pressure of competing on one of tennis' biggest stages. What also stood out after the match was Coco's maturity. She didn't search for excuses. She didn't blame the court, the crowd, or the pressure of the occasion. Instead, she accepted responsibility, explained her thinking honestly, and showed the mindset that has made her one of the most respected young players on the WTA Tour. For elite athletes, confidence doesn't mean believing every shot will work. It means trusting yourself to make the right decision, even knowing that sometimes the outcome won't go your way. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson from Coco Gauff's Wimbledon moment. The result of 1 point may have sparked the headlines, but the way she responded afterward revealed far more about the competitor she has become. Sometimes, a player's character isn't revealed when everything goes right. It's revealed in how they explain the moments that don't. As the conversation around that moment continues, one thing has become increasingly clear. Coco Gauff's biggest Wimbledon decision wasn't simply about one missed drop shot. It became a reminder of how quickly elite athletes are judged, and how rarely people get to hear the thinking behind those split-second choices. It's easy to criticize a decision after the result is already known. What's much harder is putting yourself in the player's position, with thousands of fans watching, millions following around the world, and only a fraction of a second to choose your next shot. That's the reality Coco faced. And rather than hiding from the criticism, she chose to explain it. Whether fans agree with her reasoning or not, her response showed something that separates great competitors from the rest. A willingness to stand behind their decisions, learn from the outcome, and move forward without losing confidence. Because that's what champions do. They don't let 1 point define them. They take responsibility, improve, and prepare for the next opportunity. For Coco Gauff, Wimbledon may not have ended the way she hoped, but her response afterward offered a glimpse into the mindset that has already made her a Grand Slam champion, and one of the brightest stars in women's tennis. The next time she finds herself in a similar moment, don't be surprised if she makes another bold decision, because players who stop trusting their instincts rarely stay at the top for long. The real question isn't whether Coco will attempt another drop shot. It's whether the next one becomes the highlight everyone celebrates instead of the moment everyone criticizes. And that's what makes tennis so fascinating. Sometimes the difference between heartbreak and brilliance is only a few inches. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more stories that go beyond the headlines, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and let me know in the comments. Do you think Coco made the right decision, but simply executed it poorly? Or should she have played the point differently? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.